Hi, my name is Mainenti, and this is my special project, part 2, counseling cross-culturally for Adler Graduate School, class 523, Multicultural Counseling with Dr. Angelica, Tello, March 2025. My project is focused on Latina mothers, their cultural identity, mental health seeking behaviors, barriers, and strengths. For my literature review and my social interest and action assignment, I chose to focus on the perinatal mental health of Latina mothers because I work in the perinatal mental health field and am passionate about equitable access to mental health services. Additionally, I work with brilliant Latina women equally passionate about creating a safe and inviting space for their community, which are Spanish-speaking families looking for community connection. My bias regarding my interest in this topic stems from my passion for healthy families and supported parents. I also hold the bias that I believe, if given the option, Latina mothers would prefer to connect with clinicians who are culturally congruent, regardless of how culturally competent or humble I am. I also believe that communities need to understand their population's needs and create spaces that reflect those needs, including centers that embrace traditional, holistic, and non-Westernized forms of treatment and support. Additionally, I have found myself excited and uncomfortable around Latina mothers who come into Well Mama for our Spanish-speaking support group. My discomfort lies in the fact that I don't speak Spanish, and my concern is that I am coming across as too familiar or that my trying is perceived as a microaggression. Our guest speaker, Bianca Whitaker, made me aware of this in her Week 8 presentation on counseling African Americans and Black clients and families. My newest coworker is from Colombia. She is learning English but almost exclusively speaks Spanish. I want to include her but find myself hesitating because of the communication barrier. So I end up talking to Yanni and asking her to tell me if Saudith feels included or excluded. As an extremely sensitive person, I want to be aware of any potential harmful impact that I have on her. I also tend to lean towards an individualistic bias when it comes to dysfunctional family systems. Lastly, I can see my potential areas of concern with my negative leaning bias towards religiosity. I have my own religious trauma that has created this bias, and it's something I need to be aware of. Through my literature review, I have learned that between 12 to 59% of Latina mothers experience depression in comparison to the general population experiencing depression between 12 to 15%. My source for that is Alvarado, Harris, and Santos, 2020. Some sociocultural stressors that have an impact on Latina mothers' mental health include a lack of social support and acculturative stress. That is also from Alvarado, Harris, and Santos in 2020. Interestingly, research has shown that children born to foreign-born Latina women experience higher socio-emotional outcomes than children born to U.S.-born Latina mothers. This is referred to as the Latino paradox and might be explained by how individuals perceive their resources. That resource is Galvin et al. 2022. There's still a lot of research being done regarding the Latino paradox. One main finding is that Hispanic Americans tend to live several years longer than white Americans, even though they have less income, less access to healthcare, and higher rates of obesity and diabetes. Research has shown that foreign-born Latina women have better birth outcomes due to their tenacity, agency, and spirituality, which contribute to their resiliency. And that is in McFarling 2023. Additionally, the Barrio effect may explain better health outcomes because of a strong sense of community support and social network where individuals are not alone. That is from McFarling 2023. In many Latino cultures, mental health issues carry significant stigma. This stigma greatly impacts help-seeking behavior. Feminismo is a culturally specific value in Latino cultures that translates to family loyalty and closeness. Family is everything. Feminismo can both hinder access to mental health resources and serve as a protective factor. For some Latinx families, feminismo means keeping problems within the family because of a mistrust of medical establishments and a fear of stigma, including labels like loco or crazy. And that resource is Escobar et al. 2021. In the literature, I learned about culturally bound syndromes, including mal de ojo, or the evil eye, ataque de nervios, and syndrome de Ulysses, related to Homer's Odyssey, and is characterized by stress, mood, anxiety, and somatic symptoms in migrants. And that is in S.B. Forson et al., 2023. Community and shared cultural values play a significant role in positive outcomes for Latina mothers' mental health. That is in Knorr and Fox, 2023. An important cultural practice for Latina mothers is their postpartum period. And for Latina mothers in their culture, there's a period called La Cuarentena, which is a 40-day rest period where family takes care of the mother while she cares for and bonds with her baby. And that is in Kersey et al., 2021. The literature further identified a shortage of culturally and linguistically competent providers for growing Hispanic Latin American population in the U.S., and that resource is Escobar et al., 2021. Research shows that Latinx individuals access mental health services 2 to 4 times less than white Americans, and that is in S.B. Forson et al., 2023. This limited access can be attributed to a general lack of trust in providers and the healthcare system, insufficient evidence-based and culturally competent practices in their native language, minimal family involvement, and a sense of separation from their communities, and that is found in S.B. Forson et al. For my experiential activity, I asked my coworker and friend, Yanide, if she would mind if I included her. The information for my presentation is pulled from several different encounters with Yanni, not just one 8-hour session. We've worked together for 3 years and spend many hours a week together. She brings her 7-year-old son to work every Wednesday, so I've also gotten to know him. Yanni is married to a white American man, and their son is biracial. On a few occasions, both our families were together for work-related events. The most recent one was Well Mama's Spring Soiree on March 8th, 2025 in Eugene, Oregon. Yanni was there with her husband, and I was there with my husband. Both our husbands got along great and were seated together so they could chat. Additionally, my husband adores Yanni. He recently gave her a cast iron pan that she's been using religiously, and she has agreed to share her dad's carne asada recipe. This is how community works. At the soiree, Yanni was a featured speaker, introducing Well Mama's Spanish-speaking and rural outreach programming. We are a small team of women and now have 4 Spanish speakers on staff, 3 of whom are bilingual, and our newest member, Saudith, who is very quickly learning English. Yanni facilitates our Mariposas y Rosas group every Wednesday. I asked her what it has meant to her to hire Saudith and Ruby, both whom are former clients, to support her in building our Spanish-speaking programming. Here's what Yanni had to say. It's been incredible to say the least. Having a group at Well Mama, Mariposas y Rosas, has not only been life-changing for some of the mothers we serve, but it has also helped me stay connected with my culture. I'm happy to see more diversity with Ruby and Saudith. With Saudith, I get to speak to someone in Spanish every day, and it feels like home. I can drop my guard down, and we operate the same when it comes to work, and we communicate the same. I feel very understood. The middle picture of this slide is of Yanni speaking at the soiree. She's about to introduce our newest coworker, Saudith, who will come up on stage and speak in Spanish to a crowd of predominantly white, non-Spanish speakers. And then her husband will translate. This was a very moving part of the event. When I asked Yanni why it was important to her to connect with her community, and additionally who she sees as her community, she replied, "It's important to stay with my community because it makes me feel like I can put my guard down. I feel like I can communicate differently with Hispanic Latino people, and we just get it without saying much. Even if family dynamics or the way we were raised are different, we just understand each other on another level that you just can't with others. We all hold the same values, and we know family means everything." Yanni and I have spent many hours talking with each other. We separately and collaboratively facilitate support groups, and often we find ourselves processing together after particularly rough days. I'm very open about my estrangement from my family, and I feel that creates a more individualistic bias in me, where I feel that if your family is causing harm, then I wonder, what is it that's keeping you from going no contact? This is obviously an area where understanding the importance of family for some is necessary in a counseling practice. Taking this class this term has helped me do more reflection on my identity and how I am perceived. I asked Yanni how she feels about working with predominantly white women, and she said, I was raised in Eugene, Oregon, and already used to seeing predominantly white people here. I don't feel uncomfortable because I have a great supportive environment. I think it's just something I honestly don't think about because the team I work with, I feel very bonded. I'm very fortunate to be in a nonprofit where we are all doing the hard work. Additionally, I wanted to know what it was about me specifically that helped her feel comfortable to talk about sensitive things. And this is what she said. I've known you for almost 3 years now, and obviously one of my favorite people. You have always kept it real with me, and I appreciate that. You have also encouraged me and have taught me so much about mental health. You've always asked me questions and have let me process things and validate me. I tell you all the time you will be an amazing therapist. You have been there when I've gone through some hard family things and took the time to understand my culture and who I am. I love this woman. She is a dream to work with. I often call her my work mom, despite our almost 12-year age gap. Part of Yanni's personality and level of responsibility stems from her culturally rooted responsibilities as the eldest daughter of 2 Mexican immigrant parents. Yanni's parents are from a small pueblo in Nayarit, Mexico. Her dad is the 3rd eldest of 7, and her mom is the 5th eldest of 8, and both families were very poor. Yanni's dad came to the United States when he was 17. Not wanting to become a fisherman or farmer, he came to the U.S. for the American dream. Yanni was born in Mexico and brought to the United States at 9 months old. Her mom crossed over the river with her when she was 19. It took them 3 times to get to America. Yanni says they even got arrested and spent the night in jail, but they finally made it to the United States and reunited with her dad. I asked Yanni a bit about her childhood and what it was like for her to be the oldest daughter. She says that she has memories of always being around family, cousins, aunts, uncles, always in community together as a family. She says that starting kindergarten is when she noticed she was different. There weren't any kids that looked like her or spoke Spanish like her. She says that she hated her name because other kids and even the teacher couldn't pronounce it, which made her feel self-conscious. All she wanted to do was blend in with the other kids, so she shortened her name to Yanni. She says that it was hard not having her parents involved with her school. She had to self-manage, which got more challenging as she grew up. She says she often felt lonely and isolated because her parents were always working. Yanni found solace in her little brothers and cousins who were the highlight of her life. She started working at age 16 and started to feel more independent. These are Yanni's words describing being the eldest daughter in an immigrant Mexican family. I definitely had to grow up pretty fast and carry a lot of weight. I had to help translate things for my parents and still do sometimes. I drop things I do to support my family and admit I don't prioritize my needs or well-being. With my parents, I sometimes feel like they are my kids and my responsibility. Being the oldest and only daughter, it will probably be my duty to take care of them when they are older, and I fully accept that responsibility will fall on me. I took care of my brothers. Omar is 3 years younger than me, and I always made sure he never knew about the family problems our parents were having. I tried to shelter him the best I could and encourage him. With Christopher, we are 11 years apart. I took care of him and babysat him while my parents worked. However, my brothers look up to me, and my parents are grateful for me. It's gotten easier to accept my role as I've gotten older. Although I haven't had the privilege of accompanying Yanni to an extended family event, I asked her what types of activities her family does when they all get together. She said, "When spending time together as a family, we always go over to my parents' house and have a meal. Doesn't matter what time you go over, but mom or dad are making us a plate of food first. Our activities will be eating, talking, listening to music, and playing loteria or dancing." So I wanted to hear Yanni's perspective on some culturally bound syndromes or what her cultural beliefs were, her family cultural beliefs were, and this is what she told me. So first, about the full moon. She says, "We believe the full moon is very powerful. People who have arthritis and who have had surgeries feel more inflammation in their bodies, which is why they feel pain in their bones. This usually lasts 3 days or so. With pregnancies, boys are born when the moon is 1/4 full, and more females are born during the full moon. Mal ojo, this is believed that when you see a baby that you just absolutely love, something about them, you have to touch them. If you don't, you cause them to get mal ojo and the baby will cry. If 20 minutes has passed and the baby cries nonstop, you have to find a twin and the twin holds the baby to heal them. Only twins can help them. If not, the baby can die. So that is the evil eye. That's the picture in the center of the slide. And then the last slide is a depiction of 40 días postpartum, or the La Cuarentena. And Yanni says, after having a baby, the mother is to be cared for by other women. It doesn't matter if your mother-in-law hates you or whatever is going on with your husband. The culture knows you respect this time. Women are not allowed to sit on chairs without padding. The woman must stay with the baby at all times. They need to bond. You cover the woman's ears and backs to protect them from the cold air. Cold air entering the body can cause milk production not to come in. You are made a special corset to wrap your body and help your hips go back. The corset is made from a material called manta. It's breathable, non-elastic, and natural. It has 6 holes and 3 strings across the back. You are only allowed to take it off when you shower. They also get herbs and perform steam for the vaginal area. This helps to heal the body quicker, as your body gets a lot of cold air when you give birth. You also are not allowed to sleep with your husband for 40 days. It was said that husbands have a hormone that they release and it can affect the woman. So men and women can't sleep together in the same room with mom and baby. This was only during the first 40 days, and you could also only eat oops, sorry, I had to look at my notes. You could only eat atoles, which is a warm corn drink, toasted bread, potatoes, and protein. No cold foods. This experience has reinforced some biases and challenged one. My positive bias towards needing equitable care for healthy families and parents is reinforced. This should be a non-negotiable in my opinion. Healthy families equals strong, healthy communities. Hearing from Yanni reinforced another one of my biases, that Latina mothers would prefer culturally and linguistically congruent clinicians. When I asked Yanni if she has ever had a professional counselor and if she shared her cultural identity, she said yes. The person I got help from was multicultural and understood my culture. As a follow-up, I asked if she was open to meeting with a counselor from a different culture. She replied, yes, I would maybe be open to the idea if I knew they married into the culture or have a ton of experience working with Latinos. This makes sense to me, and I will continue to advocate for more culturally congruent clinicians in mental health and in the medical field, as well as continue to educate myself and gain new experiences working with multicultural clients. Learning about all the familial and cultural beliefs related to varying illnesses, also culturally bound syndromes, it reinforces my bias that communities need alternative care options for marginalized populations. That can include folk medicine, traditional medicine, holistic therapies, and healing centered around community. Although I am a firm believer in showing up authentically, having unconditional positive regard for clients, I feel that even with all my best intentions, multicultural trainings, self-awareness, self-reflections, and understanding explicit and implicit biases, I cannot change my identity or cultural background. Some clients may never trust a white clinician, and some clients may choose to not sit with a white clinician, and all of their reasons are okay and valid, and I understand this concept. I will continue to learn and grow and stay humble and advocate for individuals' right to not only seek treatment, but to be met with a clinician who fulfills their needs. In a perfect world, I would have time to learn to speak Spanish and work towards including Saudith without relying on Yanni. This is something that I am currently still working on. My individualistic bias when it comes to dysfunctional families has been challenged. I have seen through Yanni's experiences the ultimate value for her to be close with her family and the protective qualities it provides for her, her husband, and her son. So my awareness has expanded to understand multicultural concepts of family. I equally support individuals in search for finding their authentic selves beyond their families, as sometimes enmeshment can be a dysfunctional quality. Within the Latino family system, I understand and appreciate the healing qualities that are found in community and the ways in which people can be truly seen and understood without having to put forth much effort, as Yanni so eloquently described when speaking about the Spanish-speaking support groups. My experience with Yanni reinforced what the literature review stated. Having culturally affirming safe spaces for the community to gather, and clinicians that not only understand the cultural values, conditions, traditions, and family dynamics, as well as the stigma associated with disclosing mental health issues, are all crucial factors when considering providing culturally competent care for Latina moms. Feeling at home or in a place where you can let your guard down, as Yanni says, it is life-changing for mothers who are struggling with perinatal mood disorders. Finding and building community is a significant protective factor in supporting positive mental health. Some anticipated differences between my worldview and that of Latina mothers and their families could be their strong sense of family, and also the cultural concept of Marianismo, which is the opposite of machismo and refers to the gendered obligation of Latina women to be responsible for raising the children in all domestic responsibilities. As a feminist and using feminist theory and liberation psychology, I will have to check my bias when working with Latina mothers that hold their values of Marianismo closely. Some similarities include understanding the importance of community support and social interest, working hard for what you want, and being passionate about the need for culturally affirming care. One obstacle that I anticipate is my bias against religiosity. Given the degree of what I call superstitions that Yanni explained, and that were also found in the literature, I struggle to have a clear path forward for how I might positively show up for a client with superstitious, in my opinion, thinking surrounding any type of demonic possession. This is my major issue I see causing me to have to refer a client out. I understand that we do not have to believe in the same things as our clients in order to be effective clinicians, so it's with this theory in mind that I will acknowledge my bias and find individual and community strengths, including religion, as a way to support positive mental health. There are several core conditions and competencies that I will depend on as I continue to work with Latina mothers and their families. The first thing to keep in mind are the foundational principles of an ethical practice. These include autonomy or self-determination, justice, beneficence or to contribute to the welfare of the client, non-malfeasance, which is to do no harm, and fidelity, which is loyalty, faithfulness, and honoring commitments. The core conditions of person-centered theory are congruence, or being genuine and authentic, having empathy, having unconditional positive regard, which is accepting and valuing the client without judgment. To be a culturally responsive clinician, I can use strategies as outlined in the multicultural and social justice counseling competencies. They are being conscious of my assumptions, attitudes, prejudices, and biases, incorporating the client's cultural perspective in all areas of our relationship and treatment, and developing methods and approaches in line with the client's culture. To provide culturally sensitive counseling to Latina mothers and their families, there are certain aspects that clinicians need to be attentive to. One is acculturation and the challenges of immigrants biopsychosocially. Another is parentification. As seen in Yanni, as the eldest daughter, she was responsible for growing up fast, acting as the go-between to translate, and also had a loss of childhood. These are important factors to consider with some immigrant families. Loss of language and culture. Language and culture are important protective factors. When one is feeling a loss of the language or culture, there needs to be sensitivity and opportunities for the individual to explore both new and old identities and ways to integrate that in order to bring meaning to them. Familismo, this is important to understand the importance of family connectedness in the Latino Hispanic cultures. This concept can support and hinder individuals and families. Support through community and limiting beliefs that problems are issues that are not to be shared outside the family, which contribute to family secrets. This can potentially perpetuate generational trauma. Another aspect is blended cultures. So Yanni's family is blended. It's important to understand each family's dynamic, their shared and differing values, and their parenting strategies. I asked Yanni what she anticipated Teddy's experience might be as a multicultural kid, and she replied, having the best of both worlds, really. He gets to take both cultures and embrace them both firsthand. He got to be exposed to diversity since the moment he was born. He spends a lot of time with my family. Teddy will have a better head start than both his parents. Already at his age of 7, he gets to experience his childhood without having to translate for his parents or worry about grown-up things, and he knows he is very loved and safe. He doesn't see it now, but I know as he grows up, he will get to see how lucky he is for getting to be exposed to 2 different worlds. I believe that advocating for bilingual and bicultural clinicians is important because it reduces the barriers to seeking treatment by creating safe spaces for Latina moms to talk openly with someone who understands the intricacies of their culture. Peer support is brilliant. because the support given comes from living through similar experiences, and that can lead to profound healing. And that resource is Collado et al. 2025. As a future counselor, advocating for social justice in everyday practice means to see your clients through an ecological perspective, that is, in the systems that directly impact them. By hearing firsthand about client experiences, this allows you to see where the gaps are and either advocate on the local level for appropriate access and services and/or for broader social change through policy and law. And that's coming from Summers and Nelson, 2023. Meeting the needs of a multicultural family such as Yanni, Todd, and Teddy would need to include being sensitive to the concept of familismo and Yanni's relationship with her parents. Having conflict can lead to isolation and loss of social and community support, as well as lead to depression and a strain on parenting. And that is from Summers and Nelson, 2023. Issues around acculturation and loss of familial beliefs can cause family conflicts, leading to isolation. That is also in Summers and Nelson, 2023. Knowing culturally specific community resources for families and way to connect with others. Adlerian concepts when working with families include families as a social unit, whereas strong family unit are reported as having commitment, members promote each other's welfare and happiness, so family unity is valued. Appreciation, members show appreciation for each other daily. Communication, members have good communication skills and spend a lot of time talking with each other. Number 4, time, members spend large quantities of time with each other. 5, spirituality, whether formal religious services or a strong sense of a greater good or power, that belief gives them strength or purpose. 6, coping ability, members are able to view stress or crisis as an opportunity to grow. And that is from Adlerian Counseling and Psychotherapy, a practitioner's wellness approach by Sweeney, 2019. Adlerian family therapy might include the family interview to understand parent-child relationship, and birth order and family constellation to understand child behaviors and dynamics. Yanni and I are both peer support specialists and have an understanding of what community resources are available to our clients. When asked what community resources are available for Spanish speakers in Lane County, Yanni said, churches, especially Catholic ones, are like the most significant community resource in this area. There are some nonprofits that provide Spanish-speaking services, but there aren't many options available. Schools also offer support for parents. Lane County still has a long way to go, but it's much better now compared to the 90s and 2000s when I was a kid. So this is my last slide. It has my references on it. And also just like a quick huge thank you to Yanni. I know that my presentation is running over 20 minutes, but I feel like her words really needed to be shared in my PowerPoint. And just a quick reminder that any of her words or the photos with her or her family in them are for the purposes of this presentation only, and I do have her permission to share in this class setting. And I wanted to read something from Yanni when I asked her if she saw herself as privileged, and I think this is a good note to end on. So I said, do you see yourself as privileged? Yes and no. Yes, in the way that I'm very fortunate that my dad was able to get citizenship and was able to provide that for my mom and myself. I am so incredibly lucky to be documented. I didn't have to struggle like others who come here, and my parents were able to work really hard and achieve the American dream. I was able to go back to Mexico throughout my life and stay connected with my family and roots. Also, I didn't feel the pressure of having to marry someone for documents or feel the pain of never meeting my family back home. I feel privileged that I'm able to speak both languages fluently and understand both cultures. I feel fortunate that I can gain Latinos and Hispanic trust living here in Lane County because of my fluency and understanding of what they are going through. It helps me to do my job better and able to provide other mothers and families with support. I also have a white husband, and I feel like in ways he introduced me to spaces I would never have felt comfortable going had I married another Hispanic or Latino. So just another perspective on privilege. Thank you so much for your time.